Tim's News Explosion. 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 Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tim's News Explosion for this Monday, the 13th of May, 2024. We are live on the Wilmsfront YouTube channel, the Wilmsfront Odyssey channel, and the Wilmsfront Rumble channel. Hello to everyone in the live chats. It is 9 p.m. here in Melbourne, Victoria, where last Tuesday we had our budget. As you would know from watching last week, my nickname for government budgets are fudgets, because it's all about fudging the budget numbers to make it look like that government spending and debt is not as bad as it actually is. And, well, Victoria's Treasurer, Tim Pallas, aka Uncle Fester, well, he certainly can't budge his ass from a seat easily. And it's very hard to hide the $188 billion of debt that is the trajectory that Victoria is heading on by 2027-28. It could still get worse. This is just the current projection. And underpinning the Uncle Fester, Tim Pallas's planned return to surplus is an uptick in the Victorian economy, which I'm not sure those of you from Melbourne, if you've been to the Melbourne CBD, well, Swanston Street is busy, so is Chinatown, QV, that sort of section there. But if you go down like Queen Street, King Street, down the Southern Cross end, it's basically dead. But there's a whole bunch of new apartment towers that are being constructed in South Bank, which the government will collect revenue on, where a lot of the new Australians are settling in. The interest bill on the state debt, that will rise from 15 million per day currently to 25 million per day, and to to slightly reduce costs, Tim Pallas announced that there would be infrastructure delays on health, education, and transport. So the airport rail link, that'll be delayed for another 4 years, so from 2029 to 2023. So it'll be a bit more difficult to leave Victoria, Melbourne, but the suburban rail loop, which is about creating 15-minute mini CBDs, apartment towers in Cheltenham, Clayton, Glen Waverley, Box Hill, Doncaster, that is still going ahead. Suburban Rail Loop East, 35 billion. It's at least going to cost. And so this means that the elective waiting lists, remember, because the Dan Andrews shut down elective surgery, or ordered the hospitals to defer non-urgent surgery because of COVID. Remember what happened to the 4,000 ICU beds for $1.3 billion? What happened to that? So yes, the Victorian debt spiral continues to just get worse and worse. But in the federal budget tomorrow, Anthony Albanese and Jim Chalmers, they're giving Victoria an extra $3 billion for the North East Link, which will link the Eastern Freeway up to the Metropolitan Ring Road, so it'll make it easy for us in the south and the east to leave Melbourne via the Hume Highway, and also an alternate way to get to the airport. Margot says Victoria ran out of money. we are we are on the road to bankruptcy. But the good thing about being in a federation, we can simply just pack up and leave Victoria and go to another state, and we don't have to worry about it. But if you are a land taxpayer in Victoria, you might get one of these: the COVID debt repayment plan. A temporary land tax surcharge applies from the 2024 land tax year. There were no new taxes announced by Tim Pallas because he's run out of things to tax. There's no such thing as a temporary tax. They always stay permanently. Because we had to destroy the economy to save the economy, had to shut down the hospital system to save the hospital system, and shutting down the economy for 2 years. Imagine my shock that the debt has gotten even worse. So an extra $3 billion for the Northeast Link. Also, what has been pre-announced is a $15 billion Made in Australia National Reconstruction Future Fund, which I'm not sure if this is included, $940 million for a quantum computer, and also $3 billion in HEX student debt reduction by changing the indexation. Now, the Reserve Bank Governor, Michelle Bullock, when she kept interest rates on hold at 4.35%, said that if the budget's inflationary, we may have to raise interest rates again. She says that the RBA's goal is to crush inflation without causing a recession. We're already in a per capita recession. It's only mass immigration that is fudging again, that we're 0.1% growth, but we're all getting poorer. I mean, the supermarket prices keep going up. And he says the debt's okay, the other states will prop us up, like how EU Germany props up Greece. Marg asks, what's the good news? And Peacozy Man says that the sort of good news is that Elon Musk had a victory in the federal court today against the eSafety commissioner, who refused to extend the takedown notices that our dear eSafety commissioner, Julie Inman Grant, the dear eSafety Karen, gave to Twitter X Corp to get them to remove, not just for Australia, but globally, the stabbing of Bishop Marmari Emanuel by that Islamic teenager, alleged stabbing. Now he's lost an eye, but thankfully the knife failed to open. He held a cross up in front of the teenager, Bishop Marmari Emanuel. Some said it was divine intervention. There was the attempted shooting of a Christian minister. I think it was in Pennsylvania, but the gun jammed in. Maybe some Christians will say it was divine intervention again, but this is what we always fear, that there can be some copycats. And certainly it seems that Christian ministers might need to have a few people around them when they're giving a sermon, sadly, because there's all of these crazy extremists wanting to kill and harm them. So this is what the eSafety commissioner put out a statement on Twitter X. It's funny. And remember, Julian Mangrant used to work for Twitter back in the day. So the statement was, comments turned off. The federal court today did not grant the eSafety commissioner's application to extend the interim injunction requiring X Corp to hide material identified in the removal notice given to X Corp on 6th of April 2024. The removal notice required X Corp to take all reasonable steps to ensure the removal of the extremist violent material of the alleged terrorist act at Wakeley in Sydney on 15th of April 2024. The interim injunction previously ordered by the court would have expired at 5 p.m. on 10th of May, but during the hearing on Friday was extended to 5 p.m. today. The matter will return to court for a case management hearing on Wednesday. The removal notice identified and required removal of the material from specific URLs on X, formerly Twitter, where the material was located, but did not extend to commentary, public debates on other posts about the event. And there's many people calling for Karen's sacking, resignation over this humiliating court defeat, though it's not over yet because this is just a pre-trial ruling. There's going to be a full trial back in June, I should say. Andy says Musk and X's phony free speech platform F them. Well, they're still not restoring Blair Cottrell's Twitter account. He tried to get it back. He's actually requesting it now. And I heard that Thomas Sewell's account got suspended again. I haven't kept abreast of whether he's got it back again, because he was suspended from Twitter once, X once before, but he was restored. Marg says, I have a name for Asians Karens, Jenny Chu's. Is Jenny Chu based on, is that an actual person? Andy says, if X really was a free speech platform, the government would shut it down like TikTok. Well, they haven't shut down Gab in Australia yet. The Gab founder and CEO, Andrew Tauber, well, he tells these various governments where to stick them. So he posted this on News Gab that he wouldn't be complying, said we refuse to succumb to the pressure of the Australian government, will not censor the video posted by a user. Gab was founded in 2016 as an alternative to mainstream social media platforms. We urge our users to stand with Gab in our fight for free speech and support for the Assyrian Christ of the Good Shepherd Church. Share your thoughts and prayers and support for Bishop Marmari Emmanuel and the congregation on Gab. And he constantly gets at Andrew Tauber takedown notices, mainly from Germany. I mean, they're Ursula. Maybe that I just made that up as a German word for Karen because, well, the head of the European Union is EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen is a German politician. Peak Eisenman says people are losing their fear of getting fined. The gauntlet's being thrown down now. Well, the Australian government is not going to give up that easy. There is going to be yet another inquiry into parliamentary inquiry into social media. So looking into the negative impacts of social media platforms. And so this will be the joint be conducted by a joint parliamentary select committee. We'll also check Meta's decision to withdraw from paying for news in Australia. So we will await the terms of reference for this, but this is what Anthony Albanese had to say on Friday at a press conference with Communications Minister Michelle Rowland.
Australians understand that social media plays an important role in people's lives, but with social media comes the need for social licence and a social responsibility. And across a range of issues, whether it be the issue of domestic violence, whether it be radicalisation of our young people, across a range of areas, something that keeps popping up over and over again is the role of social media, which can be very positive, but can also have a negative influence, which is there.
Now, On Sunday, the South Australian Labor Premier Peter Malinauskas announced on social media, of all places, well, he's going to bring forward a state law, but wants it to be a national law through National Cabinet to ban people under 14 years of old from opening up social media accounts. And this is what some of what he said to the ABC when interviewed about it this morning.
In regards to the tech giants, well, my message to them is pretty clear, right? Change has got to come here, whether they like it or not. And they've essentially got two options, don't they? They can either sit down and work with legislators and regulators to develop a model that is consistent with, what I think the public reasonably expect, or they can fight it. Now, if they choose to fight it, then they will find themselves in a deleterious position. They will find themselves working against, states, the Commonwealth. They'll find themselves working against parents. And I don't think that would be a very prudent response on their behalf, but that's on them.
Well, Pete Osman says, don't know how you'll police that. Well, I went through last week the eSafety Commissioner's roadmap to age verification, and it would work like a digital token system. So you use your digital ID, which is making its way through the House of Representatives. From today, you can get your digital driver's license in Victoria if you so desire. So, and there's also, I just saw at break just before we went to air, there's going to be funding for new digital wallet encryption. So the government, yes, they are promising to, they want to have all your information in a central database, but they're promising to keep it safe and encrypted, even though, they also want to crack encryption as well when it comes to, we know that the federal government and the authorities, they always use as because they want to pass the mis and disinformation laws. They always use the most egregious as justification. We need to have these extra online surveillance laws to take down egregious content, which we all disagree with and want and find abhorrent and taken down, such as child abuse material and those who are directly inciting terrorist acts. But it's always, as we've seen with the eSafety Commissioner, going after Billboard Chris for saying that the one of the trans consultants to the World Health Organization is into a bondage and bestiality, saying that they should be in a mental hospital, and also going after the TERF website Redux for calling a transgender soccer player playing girls soccer in women's soccer in New South Wales, referring to Riley Dennis as a he. So this is where, and we've seen through the court arguments by the eSafety Commissioner's lawyer that having this taken down for the stabbing video, it's about preserving social cohesion, multicultural harmony, because if Australians don't know that multiculturalism is not working, it's leading to violence, whether it be terrorism or crime, then if it's censored from the internet, then a lot of Australians will be none the wiser, until they become victims. So got to censor the reality, but we've got to, at the same time, we've also got to promote agendas that to push the cultural Marxist groomer agenda. We've got to push narratives, but censor reality. Now, the federal government has also taken down, is censoring TikTok the most. This is number of accounts officially requested for removal, but they're certainly not removing the groomer content. And in fact, the New South Wales Labor Minns government has targeted the Cumberland City Council because at a council meeting on May the 1st, a motion by Councillor Steve Christou that this same-sex parenting book be removed from council shelves. This is what it looks like here. So it's a UK book called Focus on Same-Sex Parents, and it has 2 adult males with a little boy. And now this article is, just get that off the screen there. This is from Notice.news, who, well, their headline didn't mince their words. Sydney Council votes to rid libraries of evil homosexual parenting books, hands off our kids. So the motion read that the council take immediate action to rid same-sex parents' books materials in council library services. Councillor Christou said parents had complained about a UK book called Same-Sex Parents by Holly Dohig, saying parents had been distraught after finding it on display in the toddler section of one of the libraries. This community is very religious community and is very family orientated, whether they are Catholic, Orthodox, Islamic, Hindu, whatever their background, they all have the same beliefs: family, religious values, and conservative. They don't want such controversial issues going against their beliefs indoctrinated to their libraries. This is not Marrickville or Newtown. This is Cumberland City Council. And this is a extract from the religious affiliation of residents in Cumberland. So Catholic 24%, Islam 22%, 14% no religion, Hindu 10%, and not stated 8%. And now it takes in the federal electorates of Blacksland, Greenway, Parramatta, and McMahon, which all voted overwhelmingly no to same-sex marriage back in the postal survey. And now going back to quoting Councillor Steve Christou, hands off our kids. He later told the Guardian of Australia that no form of sexualisation should be accepted in council library books, and that only representing the wishes of my community. And Councillor Steve Christou, he also successfully earlier this year passed a council motion to ban drag queen story times from Cumberland City libraries. And you can listen to an extended interview with Steve Christou on the Backbench Drivers podcast, which is hosted by the National Observer, which is the National Observer. It's on Substack. Edited by John Lawson, who also hosts the podcast. It's a nationalist, traditionalist podcast. It is, I would say, I listen to it when I'm in the car. I'd say that it's very well put together, and the National Observer and Backbench Drivers is certainly going places, which is great to see. So I've put the link to this podcast in my live chat for you to look up. But yes, the Minns government does not like this one bit. So the New South Wales Arts Minister John Graham has threatened to withdraw funding from the council in response to the democratic decision by ratepayers elected representatives. We are examining the consequences of this decision may have the council continue to retrieve library funding from the New South Wales government. When civilizations turn to burning books or banning books, it's a very bad sign. This is equally true for local councils. It's up to readers to choose which books to take off the shelf. Now, is used the term deliberately, book burning, banning books, to have imagery of Nazi German book burnings. Well, they did burn a LGBT books in those infamous book burnings in 1933. But this book is not banned. If you're so desperate to get a copy of that book, you can order it online, just like a bunch of other the left-wing activists did when Yumi Stein's Welcome to Sex book was withdrawn from Big W after public disgust and outrage. And New South Wales Premier Chris Minns, he also joined in on the pylon against Cumberland City Council and Steve Christou.
Premier, now that the government's threatened to take away some of Cumberland Council's library funding, are you hopeful that they might change their position on the book?
I just think the whole thing's ridiculous. I mean, it's a library. You can choose to read a book or not. It seems to me to be engineered by one of these councillors because there's an election coming up, but what a joke. I mean, he should trust his own citizens enough to walk into a library and read whatever the hell they want.
And now I saw one nationalist who regularly interacts with me on Twitter X said that they don't stock the Turner Diaries in public libraries. So forgive me if I don't believe that this is censorship. I mean, council libraries, they can't stock every book in existence, and I don't know. They're certainly not stocking the Turner Diaries. So just because a book is not available in a council library doesn't mean it's banned. That's again, this is just all hyperbolic. But the awkward thing for the New South Wales Labor government is that the crucial swing vote voting for removing the books was a Labor Muslim councillor, Mohammed Hussein, who said that he voted to remove this book because it was in line with his religious beliefs, and he would not be compromising those beliefs. Though he did sort of use the weasel words, this decision was not targeted anyone or groups in the Cumberland City Council. But he's been re-endorsed for the local government elections at the end of 2024. So awkward for the New South Wales Labor Party, but they clearly still want the Muslim votes via election time. Now, Steve Christou, he responded to Chris Minns's grandstanding. He posted this to his Twitter X account, this video, Chris Minns. Steve Christou replying, the mentality of the Labor Party is to dump as many refugees into Western Sydney with minimal reading and writing skills in one of the most poorest and disadvantaged areas in New South Wales and threaten to take away their library funding from the very institutions that might help these people to learn to read and write the English language. Federal and state Labor governments are happy to sit back and let councils trash Australia Day celebrations and water down Anzac Day Remembrance Day activities with no repercussions of whatsoever, but a democratically elected council takes away a library book off the kids' shelf that should not be there, and they lose their minds. Now, the other Labor councillors who did not vote to remove the book, they have put notice at this Wednesday's council meeting on the 15th to rescind the removal of the same-sex parenting book. So it says, remove the following text subject to the following being undertaken. The council will take immediate action to get rid of same-sex books materials in council's library service. Now, the council voted in favour of banning drag queen story time because Steve Christou was able to get a huge turnout of 300 residents to turn up to the council meeting to, well, let the councillors know we don't want this in our local libraries. And Steve Christou, he's asking the same of his local residents and ratepayers to come down to the council meeting this Wednesday evening.
At last Wednesday's council meeting, after receiving community requests to remove what they were telling me was an inappropriate book from the 2-year-old toddler section of the library, I did that with the support of 5 other councillors. Now, the Labor Party have worked up a campaign, and at next week's council meeting on Wednesday, May 15th, come down at 5:45 p.m. and express your views, because they are trying to put the book back on the shelf. It's very important our community has a say in this matter. We are a community of deep family and religious values, and I'm only expressing and will stay hard-fast in expressing the views that represent our local community. I look forward to seeing you all next Wednesday at 5:45 p.m. at Cumberland City Council. Feel free to request a speaker's form beforehand and register your interest to speak. I do ask that we all remain peaceful but show our solidarity in force so we can let people know this is the wishes of the Cumberland City Council community, and I give you a commitment I will continue to represent those wishes and the family and religious values that we all aspire to.
And the queer Antifa socialists are going to be travelling to Cumberland from, you would say, Newtown or Marrickville, or that inner city area. So this is Pride in Protest. One of the other one is a socialist alternative front group. It's called, what is it, Rainbow Action Community Rights, something like that. And well, they decided to go to, does anyone remember last year when this queer Antifa socialist group went to a Belfield Christian church where Mark Latham was speaking, and they were greeted by angry Christians who, well, wanted them, chanted at them, leave our kids alone. And then one of them decided to deface a crucifix. And then there was quite the scuffle. I remember Chris De Bruyne, Chris Coveries, he got thrown to the ground in the chaos there. I'm sure that Chris will be there on Wednesday night to live stream for everybody, putting his body on the line again. So please wish Chris luck. And of course, if you post any of his footage, make sure that you credit him, because often his footage is stolen by various other media organizations. Now, my take on this same-sex parenting book, I mean, let's be honest, this is a political propaganda book. It's on prominent display there because it wants to, the librarians are similar to teachers in a way, pushing cultural Marxist groomer agenda. They want to teach children from as young as 2 that this is normal. They want to normalize same-sex parenting, though, as this Mickey Mouse meme says, listen, kids, if it needs to be normalized, then it ain't normal. Ha ha. Now, of course, this is the image that they believe that this is sort of the normal image of that should be conveyed about who same-sex parents are. But did anyone see? I'm not going to play it on this program because it's highly disturbing, that that cross-dressing male who, after their surrogate baby was born, had it. They were they were sitting on basically I don't know what it's called, the birth chair, and were hand delivered the baby, and was acting like they were the ones who'd given birth with the fake nails and everything. I'm not going to play it for you because yes, it is highly disturbing and distressing. And now the Libs of TikTok account posted, "This is child abuse." Though people pointed out that Libs of TikTok, when Dave Rubin of The Blaze, he posted that he was having surrogate twins with his husband, who's also his producer. He said, "It's true, all of it." And Libs of TikTok said, "Congrats." Now, Libs of TikTok is now deleted that reply, but the internet is forever. And also, the Ron DeSantis campaign sent Dave Rubin and his husband, "Speaking of fathers, thanks for the matching onesies you sent us, Governor." And it says, "Future freedom voter, Team DeSantis." Now, Dave Rubin, he's also in recent days. I think I've got I've got so many ones here. Dave Rubin, he has upset the trad thought feminists with this Twitter X post that he put up the other day. I'm not sure if anyone's seen this group floating around. This is the Free Palestine fatties for a free Palestine. When you say in Fadada, but they hear baklava, Dave Rubin said Hamas wouldn't even rape these cows, and you can see Lawrence Southern replying with question marks. So now the trad thought feminists have turned on him. It's like, oh, what a misogynist Dave Rubin is. Oh, look at how he rented a woman's room for his twin boys there. So again, this is the hypocrisy of a lot on the mainstream conservative right. I mean, they give a pass to their guy for doing something that they rally against, but he said something that they found misogynistic and offensive, but so therefore their principles all of a sudden come back as well. Now, also, this was posted by Andrew Tate, who we captioned it with "Don't give faggots children." Now, I've reported previously on gay parents who've abused boys in their care. This was the story he was referring to. Chicago veterinarian and dog show judge charged with distributing child born as depraved dating app messages detailed his plans to rape the infant he and husband are expecting via surrogate. Now, Andrew Tate, he didn't link the full article, but the full article is totally disturbing. So he was speaking to an FBI informant on this a dating app called what's it called here, Scruff, and so they spoke interchangeably then, and then moved over to Telegram, with King using the handle Perv Chidude. So it says here, in those communications, King indicated that both men identified as pervs. The term is used to describe someone with an interest in pedophilia. in one message, he professed that single digits, meaning children under 10 years of age, were his fave. He said he had a liking for boys and girls, but preferred boys. So the FBI discovered the messages in October 2023, executing a search warrant, but they didn't move in until I'm not going to go into what else that he said. He clarified that his husband Lucas was a non-perv or not sexually attracted to children. Now, he was actually questioned by authorities way back in 2017. So he'd been, again, on their radar. So in 2017, police officers questioned the veterinarian after learning he'd uploaded 2 images of suspected child pornography using a Gmail account that was traced to his own. So this was 1 year after he wed his husband, who was actually a pastor in Colorado, but since moved to churches in Illinois. So his husband, who had nothing to do with his his pedophile husband's activities, but his in-laws wrote him a character reference. It said that we could not be prouder or more supportive of Adam if he was our own. In a world of dishonesty, divisiveness, and hate and impatience have become way too common, we need more Adam Kings. It is unclear what will happen to the couple's child. It is expected to be delivered by a surrogate in Sacramento in the coming days. Under California law, a surrogate mother must convince the child parents to voluntarily relinquish the rights of the child in order to keep it. Now, what kind of evil monster do you have to be to be brag and seem to be proud of being a pedophile and openly discussing the rape of children? It's absolutely abhorrent, evil, monstrous, horrific, whatever. It's just it's one of the worst things that you can do on this earth. So again, this is I brought you a story last year about a homosexual male couple who I think the article referred to pimped out their 2 adopted sons to other pedophiles. Now, there's also this other Mickey Mouse meme as well. It's kind of weird how gay couples always purchase little boys. Ha! That's enough Mickey Mouse for tonight. What do people think of my Mickey Mouse impersonation? Now, speaking of creeps, Kevin Spacey. So Channel 4, they aired you'd call it a documentary, doco episode, which had new men accusing Kevin Spacey of sexual inappropriateness. Now, Kevin Spacey has been found not guilty in a UK criminal trial, and he was found not liable in the civil trial of Anthony Rapp, who was the original accuser against Kevin Spacey, and then all these other men came out and said, "Me too." So actor Anthony Rapp said Kevin Spacey attempted to rape him when he was 14 years old. Though when it came to a civil trial, he was found not liable. Now, remember, a civil trial is the balance of probabilities. So it's a lower burden burden standard of proof than in a criminal trial. So Kevin Spacey, he is definitely a sleazebag, but that's not a crime within itself. So he sat down for a 1.5 hour interview with Dan Wootton, ex-GB News host, who was partly fired from GB News for being the host at the time when Lawrence Fox said he wouldn't shag that feminist Eva, I can't remember her name, but also because the Byline Times, that was that outlet that Kaylin Robertson worked for when he was when he called J.K. Rowling a cunt and then said he was sorry, and interviewed that trans woman India Willoughby. But I digress. But published allegations of sexual impropriety that Dan Wootton was alleged to have committed when he was editor of the Sun newspaper. So he decided to speak with Kevin Spacey because, well, he knew what it's like to be cancelled because of false accusations. And so it was, this is actually the second gay man who's attempted to uncancel Kevin Spacey. The other is Douglas Murray, who invited Kevin Spacey to give the Sir Roger Scruton oration. And so he's written an article in The Spectator. We need to talk about Kevin Spacey. I hate columnists who write, we need to talk. Who's we? Like, you clearly want to talk about this, but who's we? Why are you bringing us all into your we? And I guess that's just a sign of his arrogance. And so he refers to my friend Kevin Spacey. And so he says that male on male relations are different from male on female. The interesting thing about these accusers of Kevin Spacey is that a lot of them, they identify as straight, but they led Kevin Spacey on, who sort of like rubbed their thigh because they wanted to they thought that if Kevin Spacey, if they allowed Kevin Spacey to seduce them, they'd get ahead in their acting or writing career. Now, we all know about women who sleep with the director or producer to get ahead in their career, but something for the men in this audience. I mean, would you allow yourself to be seduced by another man to get ahead in your career? There's certainly women who, well, were more than prepared to sleep with Harvey Weinstein to get ahead in their careers. Now, remember, he was the original Me Too expose. Now, one of his convictions in New York has been overturned, and this is because other accusers were allowed to take the stand and basically taint the evidence. So it was a 4-3 decision to overturn the conviction. So Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, Fat Alvin Bragg, again, he's ordered a retrial. So I guess that'll commence once he's done with Donald Trump's a hush money trial, which is it's charged him with falsifying business records repeatedly over the alleged hush money paid to porn star Stormy Daniels that Trump's lawyer Michael Cohen paid. He's not being charged with, again, campaign finance violations, just be falsifying business records. And Stormy Daniels, who Trump calls horseface, there's two horsefaces. There's Jacinta Ardern, and then there's Stormy Daniels. So it's just become a sideshow there. that trial there, and Trump has been fined for contempt of court 10 times already, fined $1,000 each, and the judges threatening to jail him for contempt of court, basically saying, I don't care if you're running for president, I'm going to do it. Now, moving on to sporting news, and there's been another player who's been suspended for saying the F-bomb, and the F-bomb, I mean faggot. So remember, Alistair Clarkson got a suspended match ban for calling a St Kilda player who knocked his captain out a cocksucker. Then Port Adelaide player Jeremy Finlayson got suspended for 3 weeks for calling an Essendon player a faggot. And the latest is Gold Coast player Will Powell, who called a Brisbane Lions player a faggot during the Q clash, not this Sunday, last Sunday, got suspended for 5 weeks. And he had to record a video apology, which I'll play now. And as you can see, when I play this, there's several edits there.
Sunday night, there was a heated confrontation between myself and a Brisbane Lions player where I slipped a homophobic word on accident. I sincerely regret what I said that night, and as soon as I said it, I was remorseful. I've apologised to the Brisbane Lions player multiple times during the night and after the game via text. So I just want to, I'm extremely sorry for what I've said, and it won't ever happen again. Yeah, I'd like to apologise to everyone that this may affect, and the word that I used being a homophobic slur, all the appropriate groups that it may affect and all the people surrounding those groups. I hope that you take my apology sincerely, as it's coming from the heart, and I'm very hurt by saying this. And again, I'll just say I extremely regret what I've said, and I'm extremely apologetic. I fully accept the punishment that's been handed down to me. I'm going to work forward during this time, and again, I'm also very sincerely apologetic to all the people that it may have hurt. In the future, I plan to be better by educating myself and working with the people around me, like the club and the people who support me. I know what I said was wrong, and the people around me are the best people for support and to help educate me in going forward in the future, not to use these sort of words again.
Was somebody standing behind the camera pointing a rainbow gun at him? Because that looks like a one of those hostage videos. And so yes, he's going off to a re-education camp. And now last round, the before every AFL game, they held a minute's silence for domestic violence victims. So this is what the statement the AFL put out. The AFL industry will come together as a collective voice across this weekend's round of matches to stand against the national crisis of gender-based violence in Australia. Across all 9 Toyota Premiership matches this weekend, our club players, coaches, umpires, and administration will come together to pay tribute to the women who have lost their lives to gender-based violence. Ahead of start of each match, players, senior coaches, and umpires will come together in the centre of the ground to form a link circle and pay a silent tribute to those women who have lost their lives. AFL CEO Andrew Dillon said the industry had an opportunity to make a strong stand and bring awareness to gender-based violence in Australia. When it does come to violence against women, the only acceptable figure is 0, said Mr. Dillon. This weekend, we will unite and remember all of the women who have been killed as a result of gender-based violence and stand in solidarity with committing more to do more to stop this community-wide problem. And it was shortly after the AFL released that statement, they realized, oh shit, this isn't probably the best weekend to induct Wayne Carey as a legend of the game, given that he infamously they committed domestic violence many years back. It got him sacked from Channel 9, though he was rehired by Channel 7, but they fired him because he had some white substance. That was the line there for the AFL. We'll rehire you if you bash your partner, but white substance, that is a line. That's just too far. And also, will this mean that the AFL will not reissue a playing license to now ex-North Melbourne player Taron Thomas, who was sacked by North Melbourne and suspended for 18 games after being given how many chances? These were not he said, she said. There was a text message trail. And just this week, the Herald Sun reported that Taron Thomas had been making more calls to his former partner since being kicked out of the Kangaroos. The messages revealed in February that played a role in his sacking, which he sent to the woman. And for them girls I abuse, I would do it again. After what they did to me, if you do me wrong, I will let you have it. Now, no charges were laid over that. And North Melbourne, they have, well, because his former coach, Brad Scott, has said that he should be given yet another chance and is interested in recruiting him to Essendon next season. North's chief executive said that even though Taron ended up completing 4 different programs, which included an extensive combination of education, therapy, and participation style programs, were not able to meaningfully change his behavior. Now, I reckon the only reason that he was given so many chances is because he's an Aboriginal. And Alistair Clarkson at the time, last season, remember he was accused of racial discrimination when he was a coach of Hawthorn. So it's probably too scared to sack Taron Thomas because he didn't want to be seen like he was ending the career of an Indigenous player. Though if Taron Thomas was a white player, I mean, he would have been sacked after the first revelation of text messages. And now the AFL has its Indigenous rounds this weekend. It's now over 2 rounds now. There's 2 rounds. What is that? So Doug Nichols rounds. It's Indigenous rounds now. So certainly Taron Thomas won't be taking part in that. Now, moving on to, this is a little bit of good news, and that is that the High Court dismissed the latest challenge to immigration detention. So this was regarding this Iranian asylum seeker who claims he's bisexual, ASF 17, who is refusing to cooperate with authorities, and so was demanding release from immigration custody, but the High Court dismissed this case. So he and about 150 others are remaining in immigration detention, because imagine there's now been 3 boats in a week that have been intercepted off the Northwest Australian coast. So imagine if the people smugglers, if this decision went against the government again, the people smugglers say just don't cooperate and you'll be out on the streets. So because The YQ case last November, of course, led to 149 criminal and high-risk national security offenders being released into the community, and some immediately, allegedly, reoffended. Now, the lawyer in the NZYQ case was the same as the ASF 17 case. This is the scumbag lawyer who's remember that in NZYQ was a Rohingya Muslim who raped an 11-year-old boy. So this is the scumbag lawyer. His name is Craig Lenehan, SC. He's worked at the Australian Human Rights Commission. The Albanese government and the Home Affairs Minister Claire O'Neill and the Immigration Minister Andrew Giles would have been breathing a sigh of relief, though it is it's little solace to the victims of these, well, you have to say, alleged reoffending asylum seekers. So the footage of Perth grandmother Nanette Simons, her and her husband were brutally assaulted, tied up and assaulted by a gang of 3 home invaders who stole $200,000 worth of jewelry. I mean, they already had them tied up. Why did they need to bash them as well? So one of them was a released criminal asylum seeker because of the NYQ decision. Majid Jamshid Dokashan, who was from Kuwait. Now, the second alleged offender is Syed Yunus Taimi, who was an Iranian, also illegally arrived in Australia, was found to be a refugee, but had it revoked later. Court records, he was charged in 2018 with intent to sell and supply methamphetamine, and a separate charge for breaching bail, served 1 year in prison. Now, he was back when he had his refugee status revoked. He was transferred back to immigration detention, but Peter Dutton, when he was Home Affairs Minister, well, he didn't release him, but it's called a delegate did, but the minister has the final veto. It was released in January of 2020. So these illegal immigrants, they're forming gangs together and terrorizing Australians, and there's no accountability. And the Anthony Albanese tried to deflect to the Community Protection Board, even though the minister can make the decision. And remember, the Community Protection Board said it gave the okay for the removal of the ankle bracelet for the recently released criminal who has allegedly taken part in this brutal home invasion, Majid Jamshid Dokashan. So obviously this is, well, we need to continue. It needs to be the continued Operation Sovereign Borders, that no illegal boat people make it to this shore and are allowed to remain in Australia, because the ones who come illegally by boat, they're more likely to have a criminal record than the ones who come legally by plane, and then a lot of them manipulate the migration system to get their foot into door door into Australia by overstaying their visas. Then, of course, there's the gaming the student visa system to stay in Australia as well. Now, let's go back to some good news. And now on Wilms front, on Friday night, I interviewed Nick Patterson after his victory in the county court after 3 years of Victoria Police persecution. A County Court Judge Liz Gaynor at a pre-trial hearing ruled that Victoria Police body cam footage and statements inadmissible at trial after the police charged him with assaulting them at an anti-lockdown protest on 29th of May 2021. They charged at his friend Jason Reeves. So Nick defended his friend. Victoria Police dislocated his shoulder, but they charged him and put him in on remand for 29 days. So now Nick is suing Victoria Police. So because, well, it's cost him, well, the 3 years of his life and 29 days of his freedom. I mean, but Nick is, well, he's not just an MMA fighter, he is a freedom fighter as well, and he was never going to give in. Now, if you missed it live on Friday night, then it is available as a replay on all of the Wilms front channels. And then the next day, the Herald Sun, they decided to report on Judge Liz Gaynor's scathing judgment against Victoria Police. So it's finally hit the mainstream media now after they cheered on the brutality of Victoria Police suppressing anti-lockdown protests, and also cheered on Dan Andrews' lockdowns and vaccine mandates. This was the spread in the Herald Sun. Judge blasts police tactics because in part of her judgment, she called the impropriety by police reckless, and Nick's friend presented no threat to police and did warrant the violence they inflicted against him. It also should have been clear to police that their violence against Mr. Reeves likely incite a response from Mr. Patterson. So there is still justice in the Victorian justice system, and Judge Liz Gaynor, she's gone viral many years back, giving it to actual criminals. She's got a very good BS meter, and she certainly didn't buy the Victoria Police BS there. So if we can just have every Victorian magistrate, judge, and justice be just like Liz Gaynor, then we will have a proper justice system. Now, moving on to the latest in the Israel-Palestine conflict in, well, Western countries, apart from where the actual bloody deadly conflict is taking place. Now, the Israeli Defense Force is now moving into the Gazan city of Rafah, where a lot of the Gazans have fled. The IDF claims this is the last stronghold of Hamas, though Joe Biden now, he's decided that, to actually actually enforce conditions on Israeli military aid. He's put an embargo on military arms because he does not believe that the Rafah invasion is justified or humane. Now, Donald Trump, he is even though he is the in 2016 put himself as the anti-war candidate, he is, it seems he's still captive to the Zionist neoconservatives in the Republican Party. He backed Speaker Mike Johnson against the removal motion put forward by Marjorie Taylor Greene and seconded by Thomas Massey. It was also backed in, Mike Johnson, by the Democrats as well, because he's basically a Democrat stooge now as well. And the minority leader, Rakeem Jeffries, there was a news article that said, oh, we actually get on and have a lot in common. So yes, Donald Trump chose Mike Johnson, who said that it's the Christian, it's a biblical duty to support Israel, and this was Trump at his rally, backing Israel 100% in its war on Gaza.
If you want to know how a weak and pathetic president really is, I mean, the things they do, just think about this. This week he announced that he will withhold shipping weapons to Israel as they fight to eradicate Hamas terrorists in Gaza. No, it was shocking to hear it. Even while there are still American hostages being held by Hamas. And they're saying, oh, October 7th never happened. You know, they say that. And Biden has fallen for it. Crooked Joe's action is one of the worst betrayals of an American ally in the history of our country. I support Israel's right to win its war on terror. Is that okay? I don't know. I don't know if that's good or bad politically. I don't care. You got to do what's right. It was a terrible attack. October 7th was a terrible attack. I don't know. It's probably bad politically, but I don't care. You have to do the right thing.
And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, during a speech during Holocaust Remembrance Day, because the Israeli Holocaust Remembrance Day is different from the International Holocaust Remembrance Day, which is January 27, which coincides with the Soviet Red Army's liberation of Auschwitz. It'll be 80 years in January 27, 2025. So that will obviously, there will be a lot of commemoration there. But Benjamin Netanyahu in this speech just rewrote the history of World War II to claim that no nation came to the aid of the Jews' persecution in Nazi Germany.
80 years ago, in the Holocaust, the Jewish people were totally defenseless against those who sought our destruction. No nation came to our aid. Today, we again confront enemies bent on our destruction. I say to the leaders of the world, no amount of pressure, no decision by any international forum will stop Israel from defending itself. As the Prime Minister of Israel, the one and only Jewish state, I pledge here today from Jerusalem on this Holocaust Remembrance Day, if Israel is forced to stand alone, Israel will stand alone. But we know we're not alone, because countless decent people around the world support our just cause. And I say to you, we will defeat our genocidal enemies. Never again is now.
And Andrew Clavin over at the Daily Wire also claimed that Jews defeated the Imperial Japan during World War II.
And what could have Jews ever done besides developing aspirin, curing polio, building the bomb that defeated the Japanese in World War II? That defeated the Japanese in World War II.
Now, Andrew Clavin must be referring to Robert Oppenheimer, who's the father of the atomic bomb, of course, it gained a new, you would say, study with Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer biopic. Though we learnt in that film, and also it's corroborated by the actual documented life of Robert Oppenheimer, that he developed the bomb not because he wanted to defeat tyranny and bring in freedom. Again, this is sort of the inherent contradiction that to secure freedom, you have to kill hundreds of thousands in military conflicts. Remember, the atomic bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki killed over 250,000. But yeah, Robert Oppenheimer, he wanted to defeat Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan because he wanted to bring in global communism. Remember, he got his security clearance revoked in the 50s because, well, he didn't want the US to develop hydrogen weapons, nuclear weapons, even though the Soviets were. So, again, and the reason why the bombs were dropped because Japan was, well, there was negotiations going on for a surrender, and if a surrender couldn't be reached, then the United States would have to commence a land invasion of Japan, which would have killed probably hundreds of thousands of American soldiers. So just kill hundreds of thousands of Japanese civilians instead. It is certainly it is worthy of historical debate about whether dropping the bombs, atomic bombs, was necessary. But of course, Imperial Japan was a brutal and cruel colonizing force. And they were fanatical. The Imperial Japanese Army, and remember the kamikaze pilots who suicided their planes into the US Navy ships. Wolfish Naturalist says Japan wanted to surrender to the USA as opposed to the Soviets. That was another factor. The United States didn't want the Soviets to invade Japan and then have a divided Japan like there was a divided Korea. Now, the as I was alluding to, the Israel-Palestine conflict continues to spill over into Western nations, and it's centered at Eurovision this weekend because there was constant protests in Stockholm where the Eurovision 2024 Song Contest was taking place. They wanted Israel banned from competing because of its war, what they claim war crimes in Gaza, just like Russia and Belarus are banned from Eurovision, UEFA, pretty much every international competition. Though, of course, the difference is that it was Hamas who started the conflict on October 7 by launching that operation into southern Gaza, massacring 1,200 Israelis. There was from Zionists in the West, including in Australia, voted for the Israeli contestant, Eden Golan, at her song Hurricane. Voted for her to win simply to stick it up the anti-Semites. And the Australian Australia actually gave the most points to Israel. So this was who voted for Israel, and so Australia was at the top followed by Belgium, Finland, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Portugal, San Marino, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom. Of course, the Netherlands, a contestant, was disqualified at the last minute. His name was Just Klein with his song Europapa. He was accused of impropriety with a female performer. So he was judged, jury, and executed before he could, rather than still able to participate and let the public be the judge. The winner, though, was Switzerland with non-binary artist Nemo with his song the Code. Now, despite him being non-binary, he's also a pledged his support for Palestine. So did there's so many of these. Obviously, the queers for Palestine are the most ridiculous. One of the campus encampment participants at Monash University in Melbourne, which is named after Australia's most famous Jew, Sir John Monash, who was also a Zionist, was the Monash queer officer. And I'll get to just how brain dead these pro-Palestine campus encampment members are. That's a bit of a tongue twister there, but I'll stick with Eurovision. Though it should be mentioned that the first LGBT winner of Eurovision was actually an Israeli back way in 1998. So the winner was transgender artist Dunny International with male to female transgender song Diva. And now the official Israeli Twitter account repeatedly advocated for votes for Israel and kept reposting this slogan, "We will dance again." And I noticed that all the replies to these tweets, posts on X, were of people posting posting links or referencing the Dancing Israelis, which refers to the 5 Mossad agents who were spotted filming the Twin Towers coming down on September 11, 2001, and they were later deported from the United States. So that's what when somebody says dancing Israelis on 9/11, that's what it means. So there were some people saying that sounds like a threat. And the Israeli Twitter X account must know it has a double meaning. Maybe they post it repeatedly. Oh, we're also trolling the anti-Semites as well, who believe that we allowed 9/11 to happen. Now, what it actually means, we will dance again, that is referring to that one of the October 7 massacre sites was the Nova Festival. So we will dance again. This is from the jewelry. So it's called a symbol of solidarity, and so you can get a Tree of Life symbol, and I know that you can also get t-shirts as well. We will dance again. Though the Israelis who won't be dancing are those at the Tel Aviv Pride Parade, which has been cancelled out of respect for they're still being the 132 Israelis still being kept hostage by Hamas. Now, of course, the IDF has accidentally, recklessly killed many of those as well. There's still a lot of pressure on Netanyahu and his war government to get the hostages back, because they seem more concerned about the operation, the offensives against Hamas than actually getting the Israeli hostages back, which includes many dual citizens in the United States and other European countries. So no dancing at Tel Aviv Pride. And now the Australian campus encampment for Palestine activists, they're as brain dead as the ones over from the United States. It's funny, they're against colonization, yet it's a colonizing. It's the same with Black Lives Matter, the drag queen story time. These are all imported from the United States. So they're wanting United States far left socialist, communist, activist movements they want them to be in Australia, have Australia colonized with US communist and Marxist activism. Now, of course, it is, I've said previously, it's entirely legitimate to argue that Israel's response to the Hamas attack is disproportionate. It's indiscriminate when it comes to civilians. They recklessly killed one of our aid workers, Zomi Franken. But the brain-dead leftists, because that's the current thing. I mean, Greta is the example, used to be climate change. Whether it's climate change, Extinction Rebellion, the COVID masks, vaccines, Black Lives Matter, Trans Tifa, this is just the current thing. And because they believe the Palestinian Arabs, brown, they're the victims, and because Israel is backed by the West, it's the evil white oppressors against the poor browns. And this is what a lot of these social justice left-wing Jewish groups like the Anti-Defamation League, they're only just realizing now that, oh shit, we're counted as white people as well. So they're now coming after us, even though we help fund their causes and defend them. Now, Drew Pavlou filmed two students at his University of Queensland. Now, I know, of course, Drew Pavlou, there is not much love for him on the distant right. I mean, he is a internationalist, neo-conservative, but what he filmed here, it was an important public service about, well, how these students, they're now openly pro these students also. There's already been a number of students across these campus encampments who said we are pro Hamas, and this is this student here that he filmed saying why he is pro Hamas.
So what do you think about Hamas? Like, do you support their right to resist?
100%. It's the International Court of Justice supports their right to resist.
Right.
It's in accordance with international law.
Yeah.
As well
would
as
you like to? Would you like to see Palestine ruled by Hamas after? No.
No, but Hamas is better than Israel. Like,
okay.
I want Hamas to succeed in their resistance movement.
Yeah. What do you think should happen with the hostages?
Well, ideally, they should be used as hostages are used in conflicts. They should be traded for peace deals, used.
Yeah.
Obviously, hostage taking is never good, but it's a necessary aspect of conflict.
Of course, you sometimes have to take hostages. So it is justified, like kind of.
Justified's the wrong word, but the violence of the oppressed and the violence of a resistance group is necessary violence, and it is the fault of the oppressor.
So
every hostage taken is Israel's fault.
So, interesting. Like, for example, what do you think about October 7? Do you think October 7 was justified?
Well, terrorism is a loaded word as it's been used.
Yeah.
The terrorist attack of Hamas on October 7th was largely targeted to military personnel. The civilians that were killed, according to every witness statement, every footage that was there, were killed by the IDF. They were the ones that killed the Israeli.
So Hamas didn't kill anyone on October 7th. That was a civilian.
People died in the crossfire. It was not their targets, and
so
the actual casualties show that.
Have you seen the footage where they killed innocent people at the Nova Music Festival, though?
I've seen that footage.
Yeah.
Most of the innocent casualties there were from IOF or IDF bullets.
What does IOF mean?
IOF is Israeli Occupational Forces.
Oh, okay.
IDF stands for Defense Forces. They're not defending shit.
Yeah,
they're an occupying army.
They're an occupying army. So, like, you support, for example, like what they did on October 7th when they took people to, like, sort of trade terms.
Support's the wrong word, but they are the oppressed in the situation.
I see why they do this.
You see why they did it?
If Israel didn't want retaliatory violence, if they didn't want to be attacked, they shouldn't have oppressed the Palestinian people.
Right.
You can't lock people in a concentration camp and then get upset when they fight.
Children as well, like they saw their parents getting killed, right? Like when you're raised with that, it's going to breed extremism and hatred, and that's why Hamas exists.
Again, brain dead by they're saying they don't support Hamas, but they on the other hand support Hamas's resistance and their murdering terrorist tactics. Again, I mean, certainly like it is reasonable to argue that Israel's operations, the amount of civilians they're killing in Gaza is certainly going to breed more Hamas sympathizers. It's certainly not the Israelis are not going to be welcomed as liberators in Gaza. If there are elections in Gaza and the Palestinian Authority controlled West Bank, Hamas would win. I don't know why they want to choose Hamas, but these leftists, they always take the most extreme anti-white position rather than, we know that there's also extremists on the pro-Israel side, those who are blocking aid to the Gaza Strip. And we know that basically the liberal opposition here believe that Israel and Zionists can do no wrong. I noticed that David Southwick, the deputy Liberal opposition leader in Victoria, has got a petition demanding that the Victoria Police are given the powers to break up the campus encampments, though they're getting legal advice, the universities, from the federal government, because they don't want to be sued for discrimination. Now, obviously, free speech is, Liberal Party used to believe in free speech, even if it was annoying speech, but now they want stronger hate speech to protect Zionist students. I mean, again, the brain dead leftist students are playing into their hands by calling for infidata. They don't even know what this word means. Neither do they really know what from the river to the sea means. But again, as I was saying, the liberal national opposition, they believe that the Zionist Israel can basically are 100% moral, even though they do say, make mistakes, accidents, and so they want more hate speech laws than the Labour Party is. They want them immediately. So gone are the days when they supported repealing 18C of the Racial Discrimination Act. They want the police to patrol the university campuses to crack down on anti-Semitism. We've got former Treasurer Josh Frydenberg. He has got a Sky News documentary at the end of this month called Never Again. And Morgan C. Jonas of the Freedom Party of Victoria is organising a rally this Sunday, May 19th, on the steps of Victoria's Parliament House. Stop the Jewish hate, mate. Never again is now, because Morgan Morgan Jonas is Jewish. He's not as open as Avi Yemeni, who he's been aligned with for many years. So we will see how that goes. That is the end of Tim's News Explosion for another week. Now I will be back on Reality Check Radio in New Zealand tomorrow with the Wilms report on Paul Brennan's breakfast show. It's been a month since I was last on. They managed to raise $500,000 to get back on air, which is extremely impressive. So I'll put the link to them because they're a fully fledged radio station with 24/7 programming. So it's exciting that they're back, and there's so much support for them in New Zealand. Now, on my Wilms report last night, I also interviewed a New Zealander, Adnan Belushi, who is launching a satire website, The Gospel Trope, and also a not the gospel trope, that real news that should be fake or should be satire. So I had a good conversation with him last night. That's available on the Wilms Front channels that you're all watching now on Rumble, YouTube, and Odyssey. Make sure that you're subscribed, to click the bell to allow for notifications on all our videos. Give a thumbs up and comment below because it all helps with the algorithm. And I promote all Unshackled production content on our Substack. You can subscribe the unshackled.substack.com/subscribe. You can support us a monthly $5 per month, annual $50 per year, founding membership $500 per year. And we've still got our Unshackled memberships on the Unshackled website, the unshackled.net/membership. So bronze $5 per month, silver $10 per month, gold $25 per month, platinum $50 per month. There'll be new reports from Tiger Mountain published with Richard Wollstonecroft later in the week. He's back from Thailand, and he'll also be back on Sam Newman's You Cannot Be Serious podcast as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining Tim's News Explosion once again. There's no Wilms fronts for the foreseeable future, but I'll let you know when I've got a guest lined up. Good night, everybody. Stay safe, stay sane, stay free, stay sane. Stay optimistic as well, because we can win things. Good night. Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.